Hello everyone, this is Leon Cruz for the Intense Apex Alpha Male blog, podcast, and website. And today's April the 7th, 2017. And for this week, I'll be bringing you my news, views, and reviews. And it's basically a rundown of all the major news articles and the top news stories that have made it to the top this past week. But to lead in with today, as we all know, yesterday Donald Trump ordered a strike on Syria on strategic military bases. The reason why Donald Trump won the election was because he was supposed to be an anti-war president, and he was not supposed to take up the globalist war. And what is the globalist war? Well, it started with Bush back in 2001, pushed through the Patriot Act to control the masses and destabilize the Middle East. And Obama picked up that pendulum, took it even further, pushed forth the Patriot Act to the point where they're spying on us now, and he's furthering destabilizing the Middle East and drone attacks with the drones in the air and all that technology going on there to continue to further the globalist war. Trump recently campaigned about 5 months ago, before he was president, that he was not going to do any of this. And then yesterday we find out that he ordered a strike on strategic areas on Syria to try to send a message to President Assad. Now, the Russians also are on Assad's side because they're fighting ISIS. What this attack does is help destabilize the Middle East and puts the United States on the side of ISIS. In other words, we're the bad guys in this situation, not Russia and not Syria. Despite the fact that Assad is not a nice guy, and neither is Putin, they did not attack us, nor did they have any beef with the United States. They were trying to stabilize their region. Now, the reason why he was attacked by this administration was because Donald Trump has a lot of neocon globalists whispering in his ear, basically giving him advice on why he should bomb the Syria. Now, Syria, they said that the reason why he perpetuated or pushed forward the attack was because they gassed their own people. They used chemicals that are banned by the UN to hurt and kill their own people. Now, this sounds like a false flag and a lie to try to give us a reason to go and fight and try to oust Assad. Now, this is what many have feared, because this may bring about a third world war. And we're praying to the Lord that does not happen. A lot of people who had faith in Trump are now turning away and are no longer supporting him. Unfortunately, his ratings has gone down, and I believe they're going to go down even more due to this stupid decision he made at the behest of the cocksucking globalist neocon bastards who pushed this through. And I'm going to play a clip for you. I want you to listen to this clip.
The United States is in a perpetual state of war because the bankers control the politicians, and they read the script as given to them by the banksters, and they make huge amounts of money off of this. What this gentleman is saying about the United States not wanting war, not wanting to get involved, is like Iraq 2.0. It's a repeat of the same rubbish that was said, oh, we don't want war, war is a last resort. That's absolutely untrue. It's a lie. Those that are in government are nothing more than prostitutes who are carrying out the orders of those who are in charge of them, and those that are in charge want another war. And part of that is what we discussed earlier, the Greater Israel Project, to destabilize any Arab regime which might have any kind of autonomy and self-determination. Any regime in the Arab world that is not an absolute puppet cannot be tolerated. And who are the nations that we target? Those that are not puppets. We don't target those like the Saudi regime, which is the biggest human rights violator in that region. It's cutting off people's heads in public, cutting off hands. It is the most grotesque regime on the planet, and yet we give that regime weapons and it's no problem whatsoever. The duplicity and hypocrisy of the United States and the West can't even be measured. It is so enormous. And these mouthpieces, such as this gentleman in Washington, is only doing a disservice to himself and his country. And the fact is that American sons and daughters will get involved in this yet again, and these chicken hawks who are pretending to care about the Syrian people are going to be sacrificing not their own sons and daughters. I would like this man to send his sons and daughters and his grandchildren off to Syria when this turns into a greater conflict, because this is what we're flirting with, is a world war, a third world war. This is not a joke. We are flirting with a third world war on the basis that apparently we care so much about the Syrian people, just like we care so much about the Iraqi people and the Afghani people. The only people that buy this sort of stuff are either bought-off prostitutes or the dumbest of the dumb. And we're also led to believe that Assad is the dumbest idiot dictator on the planet now, isn't he? Because he invited UN inspectors to come in, and he brought them in. On the very day that they come in, he decides to attack his own people 10 miles away from where the inspectors arrive. This is beyond ridiculous. And the only people that buy this, again, are bought-off prostitutes or the dumbest of the dumb.
We also noticed that Trump attacked the Freedom Caucus. The Freedom Caucus is made up of Tea Party politicians who are the true conservatives who help put him in office. It seems like Trump is attacking the very people who helped him get into office, and he didn't save face with many of the people who were anti-war who helped put him in office. I'm going to go over some stories with you so that you can see some of the things that he is doing. Okay, here we see a story. This is as of today. Putin tells the world, attacking Syria again. You'll need to get through me. Russian battleship is positioned between U.S. warship and runway hit by Trump's airstrike as Vladimir makes his move. Now, this was warned about a while ago. A lot of people were afraid that this may lead to World War III. And Trump was warned not to do this, specifically by Rand Paul, Ron Paul's son. He advised him, don't do this. But apparently, based on what we were reading here and what we learned, he went ahead with it. Many are saying that it wasn't Assad that gassed the people there. It was basically a false flag operation perpetrated by ISIS, or perpetrated by the freedom fighters who are at war with him. They're the ones who basically went ahead and attacked the people. The problem here is that our country did not do their due diligence and look into the matter before attacking. This tells us that the goal was to basically destabilize the region from Assad, get him out of power, and unfortunately get control of the area and also the banking area. Because keep in mind that this is a banker's war. We already know that the globalists are big bankers and they fund and contrive many of the wars. Unfortunately, this is one that has been going on since 2001. And the goal is to bit by bit take apart the whole entire Middle East. The purpose for that is twofold. The first purpose is to destabilize the area and get control of its resources and its banking system. They have to go along with the globalist agenda. That's number one. And number two is to create a boogeyman to keep us over here in the United States under control. They keep telling us we're having a war with terrorism, when in reality, that is a made-up situation that they're perpetuating because they want to basically put fear into people, because the dumber and the more fearful you are, the easier you are to control. So here we see Vladimir Putin has today diverted a warship to protect the Syrian coast and vowed to bolster Bashar al-Assad missile defenses against further U.S. strikes as fears grew the crisis could topple into war between Russia and the West. God forbid. The Russian president has immediately sent his Admiral Gorbachev frigate armed with cruise missiles and a self-defense system from the Black Sea to dock in Syria later. It will pass through the East Mediterranean waters where the USS Ross and USS Porter fired the 59 Tomahawk missiles that pounded Assad at Al-Sarat military airfield near Homs in the early hours of Friday. That's today, the early hours of today, Friday, April the 7th, 2017. Putin today called it an illegal act of aggression and also ripped up an agreement to avoid mid-air clashes between Russia and U.S. fighter jets over Syria. In the continuing fight back, Russian and Syrian planes also bombed the town of Kad Shekun, the scene of Tuesday's horrific chemical gas attack where 80 died, witnesses in the rebel-held area claimed. The U.S. was also branded a partner of ISIS by al-Assad spokesman, calling the missile strikes reckless and irresponsible, and accused Trump of naively falling for a false propaganda campaign. And that's what I believe what it is, a false propaganda campaign about the Lib Syrian massacre. Today, world leaders praised the U.S. strikes and urged Putin to hold urgent talks with Trump to prevent the Syria crisis escalating into a wider world conflict. Now, keep in mind, here it says today, world leaders, okay? These quote-unquote world leaders are globalists. Their goal, again, is to take out Assad. He refuses to play ball with the globalists. And that's a big no-no. This is the reason why the political community is very happy, especially the useful idiots of the globalists, which are the liberals and the rhinos. French Foreign Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault, speaking alongside German Foreign Minister Sigmar Gabriel, said, "We do not want an escalation. We have to stop the hypocrisy. If Russia is acting in good faith, it should stop and negotiate." Now, they negotiate what? The United States was the one who attacked first. Let's listen to this. That's one of the areas they bombed. It looks desolate. And this here is the frigate, the Gorbachev frigate that was pictured over here, armed with cruise missiles and a self-defense system. This ship is docking in Syria today after it was immediately diverted from a Black Sea following Donald Trump's airstrikes at Al-Sharat military airfield near Homs, which killed 6 and destroyed 9 Syrian jets. And here we get to see the map, basically what we're seeing and what was done to that area over here. So we really have to pray that something is done about this so that it could stop. We don't want any more war. And the globalists really seem to be perpetuating and pushing for a one-world system come hell or high water. President Donald Trump has launched a U.S. airstrike against a Syrian airbase after the gas atrocity which killed more than 80 people. I believe this is a false flag. They're using this excuse just to have a reason to go after them. The real reason is they want to get rid of Assad, if possible kill him like they did with Gaddafi, to get control of the banks and the whole entire system there. If Trump is really interested in America first, the two things that he should do, which he's not going to do, is get rid of the Federal Reserve and repeal the Patriot Act. Those are the two things he will not do. Why? Because the globalists are the ones in control. If he does that, that's his life. The last person that tried to do something similar to that was JFK. He tried to dismantle the CIA, get rid of the Federal Reserve banking system, and did not want to plunge the United States into the Vietnam War. Those are the major three things that got him assassinated when he decided that these are the things he wanted to push forward. So here we see we do not wish to raise the stakes, but to find a solution. You cannot deal with reality, use of chemical weapons by resorting to propaganda. Earlier, Trump speaking from the Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida, where he is hosting the Chinese president Xi Jinping and his wife Peng as part of the two-day summit, said the U.S. had to act after the Syrian dictator launched the horrible chemical weapons attack on innocent civilians. Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in the very barbaric attack, he said. It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Again, that's what they sold us on when Bush wanted to move in and destabilize Iraq. All of that was based on false information. They lied. So now I want you to listen to
my fellow Americans. On Tuesday, Syrian dictator Bashar al-Assad launched a horrible chemical weapons attack on innocent civilians. Using a deadly nerve agent, Assad choked out the lives of helpless men, women, and children. It was a slow and brutal death for so many. Even beautiful babies were cruelly murdered in this very barbaric attack. No child of God should ever suffer such horror. Tonight I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched. It is in this vital national security interest of the United States to prevent and deter the spread and use of deadly chemical weapons. There can be no dispute that Syria used banned chemical weapons, violated its obligations under the Chemical Weapons Convention, and ignored the urging of the UN Security Council. Years of previous attempts at changing Assad's behavior have all failed, and failed very dramatically. As a result, the refugee crisis continues to deepen, and the region continues to destabilize, threatening the United States and its allies. Tonight I call on all civilized nations to join us in seeking to end the slaughter and bloodshed in Syria, and also to end terrorism of all kinds and all types. We ask for God's wisdom as we face the challenge of our very troubled world. We pray for the lives of the wounded and for the souls of those who have passed. And we hope that as long as America stands for justice, then peace and harmony will, in the end, prevail. Good night, and God bless America and the entire world. Thank you.
Mr. President, what's the legal justification for the strikes?
So we just heard the president tell us the reason why he commanded the airstrikes in Syria. Now, once again, I'm not buying most of that, only because this is what he was briefed on. And I'm going to play another video for you where Paul Joseph Watson explains it perfectly as to what is happening. Also, keep in mind that this past week we learned that Susan Rice did, used wiretapping to spy on Trump and the incoming administration. But we'll be getting to that in another video. So I'm going to close off with the Paul Joseph Watson video. Until next time, God bless you all.
What are we going to start World War III over Syria?
Well, half of you are going to absolutely hate me, whatever I say, so here goes. But for a start, I saw this coming. A month ago, I tweeted this. If there's one area Trump will fuck up, it will be in foreign policy. Half of his advisors are CFR globalists. That swamp was not drained. So here's a list of people and entities who support Trump's airstrike on Syria. Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, Nancy Pelosi, Angela Merkel, the mainstream media.
They are beautiful pictures.
Neocons, and ISIS. You have to admit that's not great company to keep. And you can argue, as people have, that this is 4D chess, that Trump is engaging in a show of strength to humiliate Obama over his red line and dismantle claims that he's conspiring with the Russians. But those same Russia-obsessive people are now attacking Trump because he gave Putin an hour's advance warning. You're never gonna please these people, so why pander to them? But beyond the theories, here's the reality. That airbase that Trump just bombed was protecting a nearby Christian town from being overrun by jihadists. The predominantly Christian city of Mardeh in northern Hama has been under attack by rebels every day. Crippling the Syrian army in that region has now made it all but inevitable that that town will be overrun and occupied by jihadist rebels. The airstrike directly helped jihadist rebels and put Christians at risk. Now, to be clear, the chemical weapons attack was infinitely worse than Trump's airstrike in terms of human tragedy. This was a horrific event. Children died, and we're not disregarding the scale of the horror by questioning who was responsible. Killing children is dreadful, but no one seemed to care when children were killed during a US military raid in Yemen. But we've just been told to swallow the Assad did it explanation provided by the White Helmets, an organisation many have accused of having direct ties with the rebels, with no impartial investigation whatsoever, despite the fact that we know rebels possess chemical weapons, and we know they were almost certainly behind the 2013 chemical weapons attack in Ghouta, despite the fact that Assad and Syria supposedly gave up their chemical weapons. And why would Assad launch a completely self-defeating chemical weapons attack less than a week after Rex Tillerson had said that regime change was no longer on the agenda?
I think the status and the longer term status of President Assad will be decided by the Syrian people.
Why would Assad infuriate the world by gassing women and children when ISIS are on the run and on the verge of being defeated? It makes absolutely no sense. But now T-Rex says that regime change is back on the table.
The process by which Assad would leave is something that I think requires an international community effort, both to first defeat ISIS within Syria, to stabilize the Syrian country, to avoid further civil war, and then to work collectively with our partners around the world through a political process that would lead to Assad leaving.
So will you and President Trump organize an international coalition to remove Assad?
Those steps are underway.
Okay, so defeat ISIS and then topple Assad, so that ISIS can then come back and take over the country. Great idea! Here's what can't be denied. Destabilizing secular regimes in the Middle East, whatever the reason given, has always proven disastrous. Iraq, Libya, Syria. It led to hundreds of thousands of dead and displaced people. Dead US troops, more global terrorism, a refugee crisis, the rise of ISIS. And those of you who think this is a one-off limited strike are being incredibly naive. Tillerson said it's about regime change, and given what happened last night, you can bet they're going to follow through on their word. Regime change means more death, more chaos, a vacuum filled by jihadists, more terrorism, more refugees. We've been down this road before. This is what Trump said in 2013. Don't attack Syria, an attack that will bring nothing but trouble for the US focus on making our country strong and great again. So what happened to that? When did it stop being about America first? Crooked Hillary Clinton's foreign interventions unleashed ISIS in Syria, Iraq and Libya. She is reckless and dangerous. And this intervention helps ISIS. It helps the jihadist rebels. It helps Al-Qaeda. They're all out celebrating it. Hillary Clinton called for it in the first place. Look, this is what Trump campaigned against. This is one of the main reasons why you voted for him. To stop the US becoming entangled in Middle Eastern quagmires. And I know there's a huge portion of you out there who will completely disagree with me and who will support Trump whatever he does. But I think there's a real chance that Trump has been surrounded and manipulated by neocons and the deep state. I mean, just look at his foreign policy advisors. Half of them, at least half of them, are Council on Foreign Relations members. They're globalists. But even so, I still think there's time to reach out to Trump and let him know that he's following a disastrous course. If Trump vehemently indicates that he won't bow to pressure to impose no-fly zones and initiate regime change, then that will be a positive development. So let's keep the dialogue open. Let's not jump down each other's throats. And let's try to avoid another catastrophe in the Middle East. Click the link below to subscribe to the channel, and for more breaking news go to Infowars.com. The Making of the President 2016, how Donald Trump orchestrated a revolution. This is the untold story of how Trump defied all the odds to win the presidency. From former Trump confidant Roger Stone, the inside scoop of how Trump rocked the establishment. Get your signed copy of The Making of the President right now at InfoWarsStore.com.